I'm going to spend a little time on resiliency and information sharing. Ensuring resiliency in state government operations requires a multidisciplinary approach to security. This requires training and skill development, the adoption of systematic processes that are flexible enough to address the emerging and evolving threats, and it requires an investment in resources and technology. Now, cybersecurity adds a new dimension to this paradigm, which impacts almost every modality of government operations in the 21st century. There is every indication that this reliance will continue to become more acute. The bottom line, sensitive information that various state agencies store in systems they rely upon are becoming more and more susceptible to intrusions and access by unauthorized actors with malicious intent. So the role, what is the role of the National Guard? Clearly it has a role in the issue of protection of the grid, but it also has a role in the protection of state systems. The National Guard and reserves are trying to up the ante on cyber forces, but the Guard is facing a cyber training backlog to get there. Now, General Grass said in recent testimony that he is looking into ways to accelerate this training. Grass said cyber units go through 3 types of training, which include basic skills, certifications for working in a cyber range, and joint training. The Army Guard has created one Title 10 federal status cyber protection team and is setting up 10 part-time Title 32 status CPTs. That's not enough. The National Guard does plan to have 30 cyber units that will be stationed in at least 30 states by fiscal 2019. Again, it's not enough. As has been pointed out, the size of the state of California, they need more than one team. Now, Grass also wants a cyber capability in every state, and that has been his commitment to the governors. Uncertain state role, but precisely how much the CPTs actually may be able to do to protect state networks, critical infrastructure, and private companies remain unclear. The question is, even when those units are set up, will they have the proper training to be able to interface with a state, with an electrical grid, that can actually provide the services? Many of these highly trained people are coming from military training, which faces a different set of requirements, namely the defense of a military network. So, to defend against widespread, I think we need a new approach. These deficits in training must be met. So how do we create a cyber reserve force, possibly under the National Guard, that possibly could supplement their capability and add additional training resources to the National Guard? One of the ideas I would like to propose is that the FBI has a system called InfraGuard. For 6 years I was on the National Board of Directors. There's over 50,000 vetted individuals, most of which come from the cyber industry. Is this something that we can draw upon for resources to bolster the Guard, and can we create a structure that could provide trainers and other capability from the private sector? I think the lesson that we need to look at is what Estonia has done. Estonia has created a reserve cyber army from the private sector. They provide people with training, they provide people with clearances, and it's a volunteer effort. Now, we may have to do a little more than just a volunteer effort to get the type of resources we need with the type of size of the country we have. But we need to stop thinking about this, and I think the perfect place to put that is under the National Guard and coordinating with this. So let's talk about information sharing, because cyber threats and the attack landscape, as has been pointed out, is ever changing. It's expanding, and the success of cyber actors are increasing. Advanced persistent threats and cyber criminals are becoming more organized. They are cooperating in cross-country fashion now, constantly exchanging new experience, sharing tools and exploit kits, and helping each other become more efficient in their attacks. The defenders need to take the same approach. Having access to timely information and intelligence is vital in protecting organizations and firms against data breaches and security incidents. It can dramatically reduce the dwell time, as has been pointed out, of a threat actor by having that information sharing. Now, criminal actors are getting more organized and sophisticated. Again, this makes traditional defense methods and tools significantly less effective in dealing with new threats constantly appearing on the horizon. If 80% of cyber attacks are driven by highly organized crime rings in which data, tools, and expertise is widely shared, then governments, companies, and individuals also need to become more sophisticated in their mutual response of information sharing. So, collaboration is also an important component here. Threat intelligence we need to share. So how do we define that threat intelligence? It's evidence-based knowledge, including context, mechanisms, indicators, implications, actionable advice about an existing or emerging menace or hazard to assets that can be used to inform decisions regarding the subject's response to that menace and hazard. Now, we talked about the attack in Ukraine. That was a black energy malware program. That first came out of Russian criminal networks used to target financial institutions. If you look at the structure of Russian organized crime, groups like that used to be called the Russian Business Network out of St. Petersburg, which hosts the largest bulletproof hosting service in the world for child pornography and other nefarious things. This group works with protection from the government of Russia, can be brought off the private area into a state-run attack, as they've done in Estonia, as they've done in Georgia. So we have to understand that states are operating with criminal networks and collaborating in this nature, so the information that we're obtaining from sharing of criminal cyber intelligence is extremely important to stay up on top of these threat actors. So, after this event in Ukraine, for the first time now, there has been an ICS SCADA information sharing network established. This is extremely important, and the nature of this SCADA sharing industry sharing mechanism will be international. It's extremely important. So now DHS has developed standards to anonymize information, to help facilitate the sharing of information with the TAXI and STIX exchange protocols. This is very important. So I will conclude with this. We need the National Guard. We need the National Guard deeply involved, but that deficit of our youth in these skill sets are tremendous. I will point out one statistic. Russia graduates 220,000 hard science graduates per year. That is equal to what India graduates with 6 times the population. This deficit must be addressed at the fundamental levels in this country if we are going to survive the threat landscape that we're in today.